The room was full of flowers, laughter, and soft music, but let me ask you something. What would you do if the person you trusted with your future was secretly planning to take everything from your family? What if the man who promised to protect you was actually studying legal documents instead of your heart? And what if, on the day meant to celebrate love, you discovered you were just a step in someone else's property deal? Would you freeze? Would you expose him in front of everyone? Or would you stay silent because the truth came too late? I wish I could tell you this is just a dramatic question. But this is my reality. My name is Sofia Carter. And this is the story of how my fiancé didn't fall in love with me, he fell in love with what my mother owned. I grew up believing love was simple. Honest. Clean. My mom, a self-made woman, owned a large historic property outside Boston. It wasn't just a house, it was land, assets, and a future secured through decades of hard work. But to me, it was just home. Then I met Ryan. Charming. Intelligent. Well-spoken. The kind of man who knew exactly what to say and when to say it. He made me feel seen. Safe. Chosen. When he proposed, everyone said I was lucky. I believed them. But love has a way of blinding you to patterns you don't want to see. Ryan was always curious about my family finances. At first, it sounded harmless. Your mom is impressive, he'd say. She's really built something special. Then the questions became more specific. How the property was registered. Whether there was a trust. If my name was included. I laughed it off. I told myself he was just being responsible. My sister Emily didn't laugh. Emily has always been observant, the kind of person who notices silence between words. She noticed how Ryan's tone changed whenever my mom talked about lawyers or wills. She noticed how he suddenly started attending family meetings he was never interested in before. A week before the wedding, Emily confronted me. She said something felt wrong. That Ryan was asking questions that didn't sound like love, they sounded like strategy. I defended him. Hard. That decision still haunts me. The morning of the wedding arrived. Everything moved fast. Makeup artists. Cameras. Champagne glasses clinking. Outside, guests were already arriving. That's when Emily locked the bedroom door and placed her phone on the table. Before you walk down that aisle, she said, you need to see this. On the screen were emails. Messages. Legal drafts. Ryan's name was on every page. And suddenly, the man I was about to marry looked less like my future. And more like a calculated risk I never agreed to take. I felt my knees weaken, but I didn't fall. Not yet. Emily stood in front of me like a shield, while my mind raced through every memory I had ignored. The emails weren't vague. They were precise. Legal language. Property clauses. Timelines. Ryan wasn't guessing, he was planning. One email froze my blood. If the marriage is finalized, Sofia automatically becomes the strongest leverage point. The mother won't resist after that. Leverage. That's what I was to him. I wanted to scream. Instead, I whispered, how long have you known? Emily swallowed hard. Long enough to be sure. I didn't want to ruin your wedding without proof. That's when the weight of her bravery hit me. She hadn't acted out of jealousy or doubt, she waited for facts. Real evidence. Because once accusations start, they can't be taken back. Outside the room, I could hear laughter. Guests settling into their seats. The wedding planner knocking gently, reminding us we were running late. Ryan was already downstairs. Emily told me how she found out. Ryan had used her laptop once, logging into his email without realizing it synced. She noticed unfamiliar legal contacts. Property attorneys, and draft agreements saved under coded names. At first, she thought it was work-related until my mom's property address appeared. That's when she started documenting everything. Screenshots. Downloads. Time-stamped backups sent to herself and an independent cloud. She even contacted a family lawyer quietly, asking hypothetical questions. While I was choosing flowers, my sister was building a case. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. The white dress. The calm makeup. I looked like a woman about to say I do. But inside, something else was forming, clarity. We can't confront him publicly, Emily said. Not yet. He'll deny it. We need control. Control. That word felt powerful. For the first time that day, I wasn't the victim in the room. I took a deep breath and straightened my shoulders. Then we play along, I said. Just long enough to see how far he's willing to go. Emily nodded. And in that moment, the wedding stopped being a celebration and became an investigation. The ceremony went on as planned. Smiles. Applause. Vows spoken with steady voices. Ryan held my hands, looking into my eyes like a man in love. But now I could see the cracks, the precision behind his words, the way he emphasized partnership and shared future. He wasn't speaking to me. He was speaking to an outcome. I said my vows calmly, even though every word tasted like glass. At the reception, Ryan moved quickly. Too quickly. He disappeared between conversations, checking his phone, whispering to someone near the bar. Emily stayed close, pretending to help with guests while quietly tracking his movements. That's when the trap tightened. Ryan pulled me aside near the patio, his voice low and urgent. After today, he said, we should talk about combining assets. Just to protect your mom, legally. There it was. The first move. I didn't argue. I nodded. I asked questions. Innocent ones. And Ryan answered, too confidently. He explained structures, trusts, post-marriage leverage, unaware that Emily was recording everything from her phone, hidden in her clutch. Later that night, Emily showed me the audio. Our family lawyer confirmed it. Ryan had crossed a line. Intent. Manipulation. Financial exploitation through marriage. In legal terms, it was enough to freeze any claim he thought he had. But we didn't stop there. The next morning, my mom was informed. Not emotionally, strategically. She transferred temporary control of the property into a protected trust, legally untouchable without unanimous consent. Ryan had no idea. When Ryan returned from his business meeting, he was confident. Almost smug. He asked about documents. About timelines. About when he could speak to my mom's attorney. I looked at him and smiled. You already did, I said. His face changed. Just for a second. Fear slipped through. That night, legal papers were served. Not divorce papers. Protective orders. Fraud notices. Evidence attachments. Ryan wasn't walking into wealth anymore. He was walking into a case. And he finally realized? He hadn't married into power. He'd underestimated it. The courtroom was silent in a way that felt heavier than any scream. Ryan sat at the defense table, no longer confident, no longer in control. His suit was perfect, but his eyes weren't. They kept scanning the room, searching for something, sympathy, maybe. Or escape. He found neither. The evidence spoke clearly. The emails. The recordings. The legal drafts with my mother's property address typed neatly at the top. Intent was no longer a theory, it was proven. The judge didn't need drama. The facts were enough. Ryan's claim to anything connected to my family was denied. Permanently. The case didn't end with him in handcuffs, but it ended with something worse for him, exposure. His professional reputation collapsed. His strategic planning label turned into what it really was, exploitation. When it was over, I didn't feel victorious. I felt awake. Outside the courthouse, Emily stood beside me. She hadn't said much throughout the trial. She never wanted credit. But she deserved it. She saved me, not by reacting emotionally, but by acting intelligently. She protected my future when I couldn't see the danger myself. That night, we went home. Not to celebrate, but to breathe. Love didn't betray me. A person did. And I learned something important. Real family doesn't just stand beside you, they stand in front of you when it matters most. If this story made you pause, if it made you think, then don't forget to like this video. Subscribe if you want more real, intense, true story style narratives like this. And tell me in the comments, do you want more family betrayal stories, legal thrillers, or psychological drama next? The next story is even darker. And even more shocking.